Hey, it's Jose Galison. You're watching No Way Jose. You can find me on the No Way Jose YouTube channel, also on all the major audio podcatchers and Odyssey as well. Credit for the intro to Justin Campbell at JCamp1521. He has a lot of work for other podcasters and stuff, some of the big dogs. So if you're someone out there looking for someone to commission work, whether it be intros, editing, clips, whatever, he's your guy. Go hit him up. Today my guest is Jeremy, or just Jeremy. He's one of my patrons. He is actually one of the up to the sponsor level patron. And today, this is basically, I have a $10 level perk, which allows you to get a curated episode. And so I'll provide that, to kind of show appreciation for my patrons, because obviously I appreciate the help. And, obviously when I say it's curated, it has to be some sort of content that I actually can jive with. Jeremy definitely has a lot of that I can riff off of going on in his life. So this should be a fun one, a little bit freewheeling all over the place. So it's not really like a strict topic. The last one, I think I did an Agorism versus session with one of my other friend. God, I can't blanking on his name right now. I feel bad. I'll think of it in a second. But dang it, I'm actually really bugs me. I can't think of his name right now because he's a good guy. But I had an episode with him. Go check that one out too. That was a while back. Just so you guys know how this works, today this is a third, and if you're watching this on YouTube, or it's also on Twitter, I'll stream too as well. You will be watching the live stream. So you don't have to pay anything if you're watching now. You get it, all that. But immediately after, I'll take it down and I'll put it back up public about a week from now. So if you want to be able to have access to it in the meantime, or any of the other perks that come along with Patreon, you need to go to patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level being $2, the highest level being $20 for the sponsors, and I read those off every episode. So my sponsors are CD McRae of the Whiskey and Tea podcast, Jeremy, who's my guest today. He has an Etsy at etsy.com/shop/Raising Liberty. He has a lot of Liberty content. Maybe he'll expand on that a little bit, but that's up to him. You can follow him at Twitter at Jeremy Rhymes. Rhymes, just like, the word rhymes when things rhyme. I also have a new one, Mikkel Thorup of the Expat Money Show. His whole thing is helping people move, whether it be out of country, stuff like that. And I've talked on before that I'm a big fan of kind of moving to where, you feel like liberty will be, how do I put this? It will be amenable to you. So, obviously I think most people, some people might find opportunities, especially like I talk agorism a lot. So if you're someone looking for entrepreneurialism, you can actually find a lot of that in places where the state's stifling things, because with that usually comes a lot of opportunity. But generally speaking, I think you should probably be trying to move to the country, trying to move to, at this current point in time, red states. Who knows, maybe 10, 20 years down the line, maybe that'll flip. But that's kind of how things look right now. But for him, he's more about moving out of the country. So this is going to be someone with a little bit more means, but I also think that's good too. If you're someone who has means and you want to move somewhere to where it's more amenable for you, I definitely think you should do that. Next week, to do little plugs, I have James Gentleman coming back on. He's someone I've podcasted with a bunch. He's a great guy, great interviewer. Definitely go check out his show, Blackbird. Looking forward to having him on again. He's him and Jacob Wintergrad are both guys I kind of started out with, and we did a lot of shows together. Tomorrow, the 4th, Tower Gang, Tower Power Hour. I think we actually may begin Jacob on. I haven't come to confirm, so I know we always joke that we wouldn't bring him on, so we might be bringing him on for that one. That'll be the last episode we have before the Run Your Mouth, or not Run Your Mouth, that's the name of the podcast, but the Summer Porch Tour event at TopLobsta's house here in Florida. So if you haven't got tickets yet, at this point, they may or may not be sold out. I'm unsure. Whenever this goes public, it'll be too late because it'll be coming out after it's already done. But you might be able to check out the podcast. I'm not quite sure where that'll be published. More to come. But yeah, definitely check that out. It's gonna be a fun time. The whole Tower Gang, everyone's got tickets. So because me, Cole, and Clint both live kind of in the area, So we're all driving, and then you have Toad. Toad and Reed obviously live out of state. Toad's in Mass. I think Reed's in like he's supposed to be going to New Hampshire, but I think he's still in like Ohio or one of those fucking states. I always forget which state he's in. But he's coming down too. They both have tickets, so the whole gang will be there. The last time this happened was Tom was 2000, and that's the only other time it's happened. So, and it was a blast. So I'm looking forward to it again. You definitely, if you can, you should go out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, and obviously TopLobsta will be there as well. He's basically another one of the gang. So I really, really, really think you guys should check out. It's a limited ticket. So if you're watching the live stream, if you somehow manage to catch it and you're in the Florida area, you can make it. I definitely think you should try. But, to each their own. But I think you're missing out if you don't go. As always, I mentioned TopLobsta. Go to toplobsta.com. Use Jose at checkout for 10% off. He has all the good Liberty merch, all the podcasters you like. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of the Liberty podcasters. He's got me. He's got Naturalist Capitalist, Liberty Lockdown, Tower Power Hour, pretty much all the gear. And also he has some of his other great designs. So definitely go check that stuff out. All right, let's bring in Jeremy. Oh, hey, what's up, man?
What's up, Jose?
Hey, what's up? You want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience? They know who you are, what you're about. You can use this as an opportunity to plug your stuff. We'll do plugs in the end as well because I like plugging. This is a grift safe space.
Word. That's awesome, man. Sure. My name's Jeremy. I just go by Jeremy on the internet for now. And my wife and I, we've been married for 17 years, have a big family. The Etsy store was one of several attempts we've made. One of our most recent attempts to pull our own grifting, scheme. But yeah, the Etsy store's still alive. We still make sales, and we're still building on that. But it's been a slow process. It's not a huge deal. Have a few shirts I'm proud of, but it's just a little thing that you do. And then the book that's mentioned on that's really my wife wrote that book after I think 8 of our children were born, and 9. I'm sorry, 9. I've been corrected. Fact checked. So it has most of her experience as a mother who home births and did all the research necessary to make herself feel comfortable enough to do that in the first place, so it's got a lot of good information, and it's a very short book. So kind of like Bastiat's Law, but for pregnant women,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the real plug on Etsy. If I had my say. Thanks, man.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, sounds good. Quick question, just because I find it funny. I have 2 kids, and like between my 2 kids and my wife, I struggle to remember their birthdays. I can name them all off. Can you name off all of your kids?
No, no. You're exactly right. It doesn't get easier; it just gets harder. Yeah. No, okay. My wife saves me every time I need bailing out.
Yeah. No, my wife is like that. She has all of our birthdays memorized, our social security numbers, credit card number just memorized. Like wow. Okay, whatever.
I think that's what we guys need. Someone who's willing to do that.
Like I like to make jokes about women a lot, but at the same time, like the woman is like the best thing going in my life. Like she pretty much handles everything,
Right? Makes life. Imagine how much harder it would be. You'd have to hire a secretary, and you may or may not marry the secretary. What a gamble.
I want to start off with talking about recently. It actually just dropped today, the premiere. Obviously, I did a live stream about a week ago. So if you're someone who's not a patron, you could have watched it. But also for my patrons, you had the opportunity to watch in the meantime. I did an episode with Jacob Winograd, and this one we've never really actually gone into it, but we kind of this time we decided all right, we're actually gonna dig into it. Kind of the I guess I wouldn't call it debate, but we kind of did the whole atheism versus theism sort of thing.
Right.
And I mean, don't be wrong. Like neither me or him really care to be contentious about it. So right. But we kind of were like, we'll dig into it. Yeah. And so we kind of did it. So it's probably I would say it's probably one of the more friendly exchanges you'll see of that kind of thing.
It's true.
Because usually it's way more adversarial, and usually the atheist is like, you stupid theist, and then the theist is like, you godless heathen, and whereas both of us, we're just chill, we don't care, we're both friends.
Y'all are friends already, right? Yeah, it helps to be friends. So seen Good Omens? Did you see that show?
No, it rings a bell. I haven't seen that show. Yeah, no.
Sorry. Yeah, that was a strikeout. I was if it did, you two would make an okay Good Omens Fair.
Is that a thing to do with the show?
Yeah, yeah. There's an angel and a demon.
Oh, wait. Maybe I did watch that show.
There's only one season so far, I think.
Yeah, that was the one with the one. God, what's his name? The dude
I
who was
know,
one of the
right?
doc.
He's obscure, but he's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was the Doctor Who guy that was in that, right? The
Yeah.
one,
Wait.
one of
Yes.
the
One
doctors.
of them was the Doctor Who had the demon, right? Wasn't he a Doctor Who?
Yeah. And the other guy was like, he's been in a few things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
He's
I don't
been
know.
in
They're
David
like very
Tennant.
recognizable actors, but I can't think of their name off the head. I
Yeah, they did a
know
really
one
good
of them
job.
was the demon was the purple man from that one Marvel show. Because I'm a big comic book nerd, so
Oh wow.
yeah. Which I mean,
No,
you
I
may not
don't
get the
remember him in a Marvel show.
Yeah, no, he was in the only good season of Jessica Jones of the Netflix.
Oh,
The
okay. I
Marvel.
never watched.
Yeah.
I skipped Jessica Jones.
I would actually say watch it. The first season is dope. The rest is trash.
Oh, okay.
The rest is absolute trash. The first season's really good, but the reason why it's really good is because the villain's really awesome. And then once the villain's gone, it's kind of like okay, well,
Right. How do you reinflate that balloon after you pop it?
like a lot of people don't realize Jessica Jones. Not to go nerd out, but Jessica Jones in the comics, like the storyline they adapted in that first season was like literally the only storyline she's really well known for in the comics.
Oh
So the
wow.
fact that they tried to continue making seasons after that, she just
They use her-
becomes after
yeah.
that she becomes Luke Cage's husband, and she's more of like a supporting character in
Luke
storylines.
Cage's wife, right?
Yeah, or husband, wife. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Good.
But,
I was
yeah.
like, well, I mean, you never know what they're doing these days.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, this is like over a decade ago. So they
okay.
were. This is back when they
Oh,
weren't really
cool.
shoving that down our throat so much.
Right. Yeah.
But
Better times, man.
yeah.
When comic book characters could be comic book characters.
Yeah. And even then, even in that storyline, Purple Man was the best part of her storyline before. So like it really was the villain that made that storyline. And then once she ran her course, she kind of just became a supporting character for Luke Cage, and that was the end of her pretty much. So
Yeah.
the fact they
Well,
even tried to make other seasons is like, why? Why?
should have just been a one and done, right?
Pretty much. There's not
Like
much more to her
Firefly, but
character.
not
Yeah.
as good. So
Yeah. Well, all right. I kind of want to get your thoughts on that. I think you may have commented, and you had a lot to say about it. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on that episode. If there's anything you want to pick out, I'm assuming you're a religious fellow yourself, or
no. I came from religion like you. Actually, I came from a Baptist upbringing. So, but
Yeah,
I'm
me too.
not. I find my way to agnostic deism.
Deism? You're a deist?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I hesitate to call myself a deist, but and I frequently concede that I actually do find that to be like if I had to guess.
Right. That's all it is, really.
Yeah, so like, and I guess it is like a lot of this stuff does come down to semantics, but I hesitate to call myself a deist because I don't really know and I don't really have any. And while I do find that to be the most likely in a certain sense, it's not like it's not something I'm comfortable being like, yeah, that's what I am, because it's like I have nothing to base it off of. I'm just like, it is to some extent. I'm like, that would make things easy to explain.
You've heard the clockwork argument, right?
Yeah, I've heard the clockwork argument.
Yeah.
I've also heard good arguments against it. I'm not
Really.
Yeah, I can't really spout them off the top of my head, but there are a lot of good arguments against the clockwork
Okay.
argument.
Well, I'm not as well read as I'd like to be, so maybe I missed some
Yeah.
of those good arguments along the way.
Yeah. So, but it's still to some extent, it is like it does explain a lot. So you're like, but at the same time, I don't know if you're a God, who is it? Lovecraftian guy? Are you a big fan of Lovecraft?
Not huge.
Yeah.
The material I've enjoyed what little I've been exposed to.
Yeah, I've never read any Lovecraft, but I've gone on like YouTube rabbit holes before.
Yeah.
And I always found theirs to be interesting because like their god, like their ultimate god in Lovecraft is I think Azathoth, I believe is his name. And literally he's a dreaming god, and all of reality is just his dream. And one day he'll wake up and it'll be over.
Oh.
and he doesn't.
Cthulhu. Wait, is that Cthulhu?
No, Cthulhu is one of the minor gods in that. Like so, but the ultimate yeah, there's like a whole hierarchy of gods.
Yeah. I mean, I remember D&D has the same thing.
Yeah, but no, it's. I always found that to be like the one that made the most sense to me because it's like the Azathoth character, like he doesn't like hate us, but he also doesn't care about us. So it's just like we just were a byproduct of
exactly.
Yeah, like
I mean, that's how God must be if there's a creator. Despite everybody's testimonies to the contrary, I'm fairly certain that people interpret events in accordance with what they already believe, which means that a lot of Christians who've had a lot of experiences that they couldn't otherwise explain, explained it away with their faith or superstition. Mm-hmm. So, no, there's no way. But God, if there's a creator, he has to have like nothing to do with what's going on right now. Like either way, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. There's multiple different ways to explain it, but I do like the traditional Christian explanation of a an all-knowing, all-loving, all-powerful God. Like it is kind of like I know a lot of people have gone to this. The fact that like all of those characteristics put together are contradictory. So like I hesitate to believe that. Like, and I'm not even
Right.
necessarily saying that if there is a God, he's evil. I just like I don't necessarily think he has our best intentions in mind either. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
hesitate to believe that. Like, I don't know, like some of the aspects of like creating us, it just, and then the aspect of whether there's, if we're going by the traditional Christian God, the fact there's like a hell, and like everything, and he
Which is
knows
absurd.
everything,
That's
like,
absurd. Like they didn't
yeah.
talk about hell in the Bible. They talked about some place. They talked about that place outside of town that they burned, bodies or something. Burned the plague. I don't remember what they did on the death hill, but um, like that all the context that goes into the cultural homogeny that was expressed in the Bible in the Old Testament especially, but even the New Testament, very thick veil of cultural context. If you don't have it, how can you understand everything that's going on? And then you have however many iterations it's been written, and rewritten, that Christians just have to tell themselves, comfort themselves with the notion that it was written correctly each time, and that King James and all the other kings that had it written had nothing to do with the actual content. I'm sure they would have put their stamp on anything. I mean, our government puts its stamp on only the best products, just they're probably doing the same thing back then too.
Yeah. No, I used to be way more knowledgeable on this thing, especially when I was really going through and this is part of why I'm able to have conversations with. It's funny, it's like a double-edged sword. Like I'm able to have these kind of conversations without being contentious with like individuals like Jacob, but I'm also less prepared because I'm not as like I don't care as much. Because like when I
Right.
was, because I did grow up in the church and it was a huge part of my life and it was a big deal to me. And then as like I slowly, I guess, quote unquote, lost my faith, or more or less just realized like I'm kind of like this. None of this makes any fucking sense to me.
You're on
Like
your own.
like I did really get into like the logic of it, because it was like when I was first getting into it, I was like, I really want to, like, I don't want to make sure this is just me like being flippant. I really want to make sure that I'm not doing something stupid here by like, kind of backing off of this. And I
Right.
really went into the logic of it, all of it. And I really was well versed in all this stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
because of the fact that I cared so much, to some extent, it kind of made me that angry atheist archetype. But
Right.
like that also kind of made me a bit of an asshole, like because I cared so much. But like
Yeah.
now that I've kind of like, you kind of eventually get to a point where you're like, all right, cool, I grasp all this, I get it, like I'm content with my position. And then I
Mhm.
guess I just didn't dabble in that pond anymore. And then I kind of
Right.
lose a lot of those logical tools and a lot of stuff that I used
Yeah.
to really, the arguments, because we talked about the clockmaker argument that like I used to be able to spout off the arguments against it, but
Right.
like now I can't even, because I don't care. Like I kind of, I guess
Right.
I
Same
get
thing
which
with me, man. I mean,
go ahead.
I would be even rustier if like Facebook hadn't come around in the 2010s and given me a place to just get into the most lengthy arguments possible.
Yeah, exactly. That's where a lot of my deep argumentation happened on, was on
Right.
Facebook, which I got really good at it.
Right.
Yeah, Junkie Jeff, he's always on the stream. He said, "Atheist are the reasons I don't call myself an atheist." Yeah, no, I don't. Don't get me wrong. I say all the time. I say that about agorists as well. That like agorists and atheists are like the worst things about agorism and atheism.
Yeah.
A lot of like atheism is just like people that don't like it are just misunderstand what it is. But the most vocal atheists are usually the most annoying ones. But to be fair, kind of like I just presented here, they're usually the ones that are like probably in the midst of like kind of in that turning point in their life to where they're really invested in it. And the more I learned about it, the less invested I became in it, because the more certain I became. And by certain, I don't mean I knew, more that I was like, okay, I'm on unsure ground with this whole Christianity thing. So it's like I don't know. At some point, you're like, I'm comfortable with saying I don't know, and
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
cool with
yeah.
just
It
being
takes
honest
time
about it.
though to come out of
Yeah,
that stuff
yeah,
with all your relatives going the other way, swimming the other way. It's amazing that anybody comes out and does the opposite that the family did.
yeah, for sure. So I'm wondering if you says Conkin made me comfortable with calling myself libertarian. Okay, I mean Conkin's cool. I like Conkin a lot, but I will say a lot of the agorists that I meet online, or a lot of the argumentation that some of them make, or even then some of the way they present themselves makes me uncomfortable with calling myself an agorist. But I try to reclaim by being trying to be one of the more prominent ones out there, and trying to also persuade some of the other agorists to make better arguments, which I think we'll get into that a little bit later in the end. I want to know if you have any other thoughts on that whole religion episode I had with Daniel or Jacob, because actually I really enjoyed that episode. I did. I think. I mean, I guess obviously I named it. I think I don't remember if I titled it like "Atheist Owns Theist." Was like a joke,
right? As a joke. I just saw that title today. I actually didn't know how the whole system worked, and I was like thinking that the premiere. I was like, oh, I'm gonna catch this right when you guys actually do it, and I didn't realize that I'd already seen you guys, before everybody else because of the patron thing. So yeah, I was just like waiting. I set my alarm. I was like, all right, and then I was like, what? This is a rerun? What? But anyway, I figured it out.
Yeah, no, I republish it later. I take it down, republish it later.
But as far as the religious thing, I mean, I think people's beliefs, I guess what needs to be said about religion in general is all that would need to be said in a scenario like you and Jacob sitting down and talking about this stuff, right? So what you believe has everything to do with your trajectory in this one short life that we have guaranteed, right? So what you believe is important. What you believe causes you to see your world in specific ways, which generate specific emotions, which lead to a particular quality of life, right? So I think for me, I had to come to terms with coming out of the church that God wasn't giving me any special power to do His bidding, to be a better person. I had to realize first off that everything wasn't sin, and once I realized that I could live my life, I was free. Like I had been a slave to a monkey's simplistic version of a once perhaps vibrant ideology. Like contemporary Christianity is ridiculous, and so yeah. I mean, I'm freer now to do good than I ever was, and it wasn't even just because of the whole heaven and hell thing. How did they ever think that like anyone? Oh, if you ever saw The Good Place, they make this argument, and it's one I hate.
It's a good show, actually.
The actors, yeah. But
yeah. I mean, they do go some cringy lefty-ish areas, but it's one of the best sitcoms for someone who wants to get into philosophy.
Right. Oh yeah, it's so good.
But bear in mind, it's going to skew a little left. But it was like I was actually very surprised with how like, okay, holy shit, like
funny.
They're actually funny and enjoyable and going into philosophy. So I highly suggest that show for anyone else.
Yeah, me too, man. That was a really good one. We were sad when it ended, but it didn't botch the ending the way so many did. So I won't say anything else about that. But I was glad that they wrapped it up in a peaceable manner. But yeah, like that. I just think that your beliefs are so important that you shouldn't. I mean, what can you say to someone who's steeped in religion and just chosen that for I don't understand the people who aren't curious, So, but these people, if they're not going to be curious, then they may as well cling to their gods, because I don't have anything to offer them, in substitute. I mean, if that's what they need, if that's who they are, if there are really like totally different types of people in this world, we can't goad one another. We have to persuade. So. I don't talk about religion a lot anymore because I don't it doesn't come up. My family doesn't bother me about it anymore. It's almost never. Once one of them starts to die, like someone brings it up. It's like if Grandpa dies before he sees the kids baptized, it's gonna be anyway that kind of shit. But my grandfather was a preacher and I was raised in that house, and he was a good man. He'd made his mistakes, but religion limited his ability to pay attention to some parts of the world, and religion or his faith limited his ability to emphasize almost anything but what he could perceive as God's will, whether it was from the word or from his feelings. But he was a Southern Baptist, so it was mostly not feelings; it was mostly the word. Only the women in Baptist households speak in tongues, and that's just a little known fact. I mean, that's just something that happens. They don't talk about it, but
I grew up Baptist, but that's not a thing I ever saw. I know I went to some other churches, some of my other friends' churches that weren't Baptist growing up, and there were some tongues. I remember coming from a Baptist church, that was weird. I was like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Dude. I went to one a few times because a friend of mine was a Pentecostal, and I wanted to know what it was about, because what they were saying was that what I had wasn't the truth, wasn't the whole truth. And I wanted to know because I knew that what I had didn't feel like there was no power in it. I was not empowered by the word of God, so or by believing in Jesus. So I wanted to know. So I went and they were doing their thing and it was kind of chaotic but I could tell, humans are sociable animals. When you have a culture, most people will just go along to get along. You remember that commercial, or it was like not a commercial, it was a little video of a doctor's office setup, like a setup with actors, and everybody would stand up at various intervals. But then a real real patient would come in and sit down, and then everybody would stand up around them, and they would start standing up whenever the bell would ring, and then sitting down. And it went on for until almost all the actors were gone, and everybody was just doing it.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So
Yeah. No. Yeah. It is. It is. There. It is weird how far the mind can drive you to do certain weird things. Which, I mean, to be fair, I don't know. When it comes to Pentecostal stuff, maybe I'm 100% wrong, and they really were just like feeling the spirit, and that's all real. But I mean, I also find it. There are other examples with other religions or other things where people do similar type phenomenon where it's easily explainable by, oh, they just got caught up in whatever, and your mind can convince you all sorts of stuff. Like,
I
for
can do
example, I
weird
don't.
things with my tongues too. I
Yeah.
mean,
For example, like say something like drugs, people can convince themselves all sorts of things. They like, oh, it's not really a problem or this or that, and anyone objectively looking, you'd be like, yeah, it's a problem, but like, like, so
right?
it's the same
You're a
thing
little
with like
thinner than
speaking
you
in
used to be,
tongues.
sir.
I'm
You
sorry,
know,
say that again.
I
I
said
cut
you're
you
a
off.
little thinner than you used to be, bud.
Yeah.
But
All right, JC has a super chat, and it's actually something I was actually thinking about bringing up because it's a good point, and it's actually one I somewhat agree with. He says, or he or she, I'm unsure. JC doesn't really give me a whole lot of context if it's a male or female. But what about the claim that those who worship God end up worshiping something else, like materialism, the ego, etc.? I think I'll answer this real quick. Materialism. This is one thing that, like, when I've talked to Jacob, he's brought up multiple times. I think materialism thing's kind of really a thin accusation because like I say, I think most, especially atheists who have thought it through, or deists, or agnostics, or whatever you want to call yourself, they would never, none of them, I don't feel like many of them would strictly call themselves materialists. I mean, maybe some sure would, but like, it's more like, this is all I have to operate off of, so sure, if you want to call that materialism, I guess. But like, inserting spiritual thinking when I don't have any reason to believe it makes no sense. But the ego thing, I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing in some aspects. I've spoke on before that I consider myself an egoist, which is another like kind of like philosophy that undergirds my libertarianism and other aspects of my thought. Which to me, that just means that everything starts with me and works out from there. Which I think most people think that way, whether they want to admit it or not. And even in the context of, you have a large family, I have my wife and two kids. To some extent, I consider them to be damn near synonymous with myself. So, like,
yeah.
they are the most important things for me. And really, it's the most logical way of looking at the world, in my opinion, because it's kind of like things that matter to you are things that actually impact you, and then go out from there. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, you don't care about people dying in Yemen or whatever. And it's like, no, it's not that I don't care. It's just I care about my kids more than that. Like, like,
Well,
like,
speaking to the super chat,
yeah.
you and I both had to find like our own morality after getting indoctrinated by the church. So we had God, and I don't know about you, but I did not find that it made me a moral person. I found that it was in my way. Like, true morality comes after the carrot and the stick are already gone. They're put down. They're on the ground. Then you
Yep.
can walk as a full-grown man or a full-grown human being. Until then, how can you take full responsibility for yourself? You've got God over your shoulder. So not being a Christian actually frees you to be moral rather than being like leashed by knowing every good deed you do. If anyone sees it, you don't get a part of that prize. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
That's ridiculous. That's a silly, system. That's not even creative.
Yeah. I will say there is definitely a grain of truth to it. And I've even conceded many times along my talks to whenever it comes to like religious stuff. I do think a lot of times many atheists will find themselves kind of like Junkie Jeff says, the state is the new god, and I do think that's a common problem where say something like progressivism, where people just end up swapping one for the other, and then you'll hear little isms go around where like everyone has their own has a god, or everyone has a religion, and it's like, okay, I mean, I guess sure, if you broadly define religion or God, sure, I'm sure you like I even just conceded I consider myself an egoist, so I guess you could say I'm my own God.
There you go.
But I mean, that's a very I would think
the
that
word God, it's
yeah,
charged now. In
yeah.
the American dialect, it's charged. It means this great, big, gigantic, singular entity, right? For Americans, it means some singular entity. None of us could possibly be God in that scenario. But if you accept that you are your own leader, your own guide in this life, and that there's no safety net that you can absolutely count on, then it's just you and nature. It's just you and nature and the universe and what you leave behind, your kids, and what you taught them. And that's fine. It's enough. It's enough for now. I mean, as I get older, maybe I'll get more fearful of death, but it's been fine. I've actually felt like I've gotten like more and more prepared for death as I age.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still only like 30, so I mean, don't get me wrong. There is some aspect of me as I get older, I'll be like, just get scared of death and revert. But like, I don't know.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, it's not something I'm really concerned about at the moment. I mean, whatever. But like, my point too that I was kind of getting at is that like when people say like everyone has religion, everyone has a god, it's like sure, if you broadly define these things, sure. But like it's kind of the biggest thing going around, or just went around for a minute. I guess it wasn't even the biggest. It was a minor thing in the movement. Is there was like a couple debates about whether the Mises Caucus was a cult, and it was like, okay, sure. If you broadly define a cult, like, okay, yeah, but you could broadly, but then at that point, you
water terms.
Yeah,
but I mean, you could water all. Why don't you just water all the terms? All the words are watered now. Nothing means anything. Let's just stop talking, right? I mean, it doesn't mean anything. So,
and I'm someone who says words are subjective. So, in that,
not that subjective, right?
Yeah. So, like with that, like the Mises Caucus is a cult, and I've done all my Agorism talks too. So I'm not technically even a Mises Caucus supporter. I'm friendly with a lot of them, and I go to the convention stuff, but I don't do any of the other shit. I just hang out with the homies. But like, so technically, in a certain sense, yes, the Mises Caucus is a cult. But that's only if you're broadly defining it to an insane level, and at that point, you can just call all social organizations cults. So,
cult's not even a bad thing at that point. I'm in a cult. You're welcome.
Sure, okay. Yeah. And that's kind of the same thing with the God religion thing. Like, sure, okay. Like, if you want to define me not believing in a not asserting there's some, I don't know, some deity out there, and then I essentially derive everything for myself. If you call that me making myself a god, sure, but I don't really attribute any supernatural aspects to myself whatsoever. So, okay.
That's the beauty of man. We ascend in humility,
Yeah.
That's what we do. So that's the next iteration. We are, the ones who don't cling to a god. I feel like that's philosophically that's a next iteration kind of situation, Like I feel like God's just gonna mean less and less.
Yeah. Junkie Jeff, I'm just one sacred text away from having an actual religion, but who could be arse writing a sacred text in this day and age? I'm guessing you're British. But saying arse. Or that, or you're evading the YouTube how it can be, because I know sometimes it won't bring it up. I don't know, maybe Scientology's for you. I don't know what to tell you. I know L. Ron Hubbard wrote that all that stuff a few decades ago. There might be some
Wheel of Time is popular right now. I would go for that. As if you're just going to believe in a fantasy, then I would go for Wheel of Time. Even though the Amazon series sucks, but the books were good enough to make up for it.
All right, let's move into like family stuff. You not British, Irish. Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, okay, makes more sense.
You have a huge family. You've been married for a long time. I've been married for 10 years. Just to
good.
Give context.
Goes by fast.
Yeah. No, I have 2 kids. I have a 12-year-old. I have a 9-year-old.
Whoa, are you done? 9 years. Your last one was born 9 years ago.
I want to have. Okay, I called an Irishman a Brit. Ouch. I have no idea. I'm just looking at a thing. All he said was arse. That's all anything I had to go off of JC. In the chat. But I don't know. I'd like to have another kid at some point. Right now, it's not a great time for me to have another kid personally. They're older, so they're already a hassle. We have all our other stuff going on. I would like to have another one at some point, but I really want to get to a point. I know everyone says there's no perfect time to have a kid, and I agree with that because I've had 2 kids, and there's no perfect time to have a kid.
He's like, no perfect time. Still not perfect.
But I really do want to be more set up. I'm not saying I want things to be perfect. I want to be in a position, because especially with my kids, and I mean, I told you it was like just a year ago or so that I got out of active duty. So I spent most of their life in, like, working,
Right.
essentially. I mean, I only deployed once, so it wasn't even like I had that
It's
bad.
not too
But
bad. Yeah.
yeah, but like, so I was gone for a while. I wouldn't want, like, so I worked basically a 8 hour day every day, some days 12s, but I just really want to set my life up to be, I guess this kind of plays into like agorism as well too, but like, I want to, be more entrepreneurial, more at home, more stuff like
Yeah.
that,
Me
be
too.
able to set my
Sure.
own hours. And I'm already as time goes on, my life's getting more and more there. And I want to be more there before I have another kid. That way I want to really be able to enjoy their youth, because I
It's
feel like I
super
missed that.
responsible of you.
Yeah.
What we did was we just put the oldest ones to work after about 4 years,
Yeah.
and so it's circular. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the infinity symbol, but made of people, little kids doing all this work. This just
Yeah.
runs on its own. It's like, I mean, basically, we're just keeping a low profile because as soon as someone realizes what we've done, they're going to be like, "He discovered infinite energy," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's true.
It's a
You
human
only got to feel
centipede of
them."
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've had that thought too, but it'd be like, I mean, yeah, it definitely would be easier in some senses to have a kid right now, but I really just want to be able to put in the time and really be able to, I also, like, you mentioned you homeschool, and that's actually something I would like to be able to do, because my kids are both in normal school. I
Yeah.
have them both in I think they're both in a charter school right now. So,
Yeah.
but like, I don't want to do
Charter
that.
school can be good. I
Yeah. I
mean,
mean,
I hope yours is good.
yeah, I mean, they were in one this year. We're moving to another charter one because they weren't a fan of this one. I would prefer to homeschool, but like, for one, it would be a real pain in the ass for me and the wife right now with our current situation. But I also have a hard time getting my wife on board. If I was to have another kid, I would have to like put the foot down and be like, "Honey, this one we're homeschooling like all the way."
Homeschooling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
homeschooling is we're having to relearn how to do it, even though we did it for tens of thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years. We just forgot in the last century, and it's not complicated. There are obstacles, there are sacrifices that you adjustments you would need to make as a family, but you're really just letting them hang around while you do your thing. And if you do it from home, that's even better. Figure out a way for them to participate. They're a 12-year that knows how to podcast, how to edit a video, how to do any number of marketable skills. That's how it is. And then if you run out of things to teach them, how many friends do you have? What does your community look like? You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, that sounds very agoristic. I don't mean for it to be like
mhm.
that. I just mean to avoid public schools, it would be worth it just to put a little more time and to figuring out what it would take, at least what the cost would be.
Yeah.
If you can tangibly say this is what the cost would be, a lot of times it's not as scary as it first sounds.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's I would want to homeschool, and I actually do. It is annoying how the state has, even now, like with homeschooling, they still have like, oh, you have this testing, you have to do this thing, you have to do that. You
Well,
have all
for
these
you
stupid
guys,
hoops.
yeah,
Yeah, for
Florida,
Florida.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. They still have all these stupid hoops. I mean, I don't know what state you're in and what the rules are
Oklahoma.
there. Okay, well, maybe they're more chill there, because
Oh
I
yeah.
actually am a big fan of, like, kind of what you were alluding to there. That I don't even necessarily. I mean, I know this sounds revolutionary to anyone who buys into the public education system, but it really is just like, okay, just live your life and just bring your kid with you. Like, okay, like,
Precisely, like the
yeah,
fucking pavement. How did we survive for millions of years? Like that's how we survived.
yeah,
That one.
yeah, and it's not
Kids
that
to the
crazy. Like,
care.
Dad, what are we doing? Like, well, right now I'm meeting with a client and I'm going to do this job. And, oh, how do you do that? Well, this is what we're doing.
Right.
Okay, I need you to go grab the tape measure while I do this, or whatever.
Yeah, and that's what the child labor laws stole from
Yeah,
families, the nuclear family, which was actually was the extended family at the time, right? It didn't turn into just a nuclear family until a little bit later, but yeah, that's what that shit stole from us. That's significant, and when we get it back, it's going to be significant too.
yeah. And that's not to say too that they couldn't, and like, people go, oh, were they just gonna, like, they're not gonna understand science, history, blah blah blah, etc. Like, no, that's not all. Like, for one, you would inspire them to learn things. Like, for example, like, I know I did well in school. I was a smart kid. I was mostly A's and B's. Like, if anything, I was like a lazy kid because school was so easy for me. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I've learned far more as an adult than I did as a kid, because I actually just, like, whether it be podcasts, audiobooks, just going down, Wikipedia wormholes,
And
whatever.
the
Like,
truth
I've
is, you
just,
never stop learning,
yeah.
and so by giving them this like set number of years they have to attend this institution, and then they get out. and then they have to go to college, which is kind of a bummer. But they got all these peers that are equally as crazy, and suppressed as they've been, or self-repressed, and so you don't learn for a while, and you pick up a few more things, and then you finally join the real world. That's insane. Like, and you think you're done learning. You think, I'm gonna go do this job. I'm gonna make the money that I paid to make, but you paid for nothing. That company could have trained you 4 years earlier. Like it's crazy.
Yeah. No, and it's like I know a lot of people kind of look down on what we were kind of alluding to, and it's like, okay, but you're actually learning marketable skills. Say if you're tailing around, and I don't even know, we're not even specifying whatever mother, father you're following around when they do whatever
Right.
job.
Yeah.
Like we don't even know. Like, and there are like they can obviously learn other skills, but they actually will have something as opposed to just coming out of school and be like, well, I know a lot about science. Like, okay, well, cool. Like, what I don't know
Right.
what to do with that. Like, unless
And
you
you added in a little community, and you got how many parents in a neighborhood? How many uncles and cousins? Things like, you have to have trust. You have to build trust. You have to be able to have a way to verify people, because you're not going to give your kids to just anyone. But that being said, these are the people that you're going to mutually defend your neighborhood with. This in an in a free society, your neighbors mean a whole lot more to you. And so if the kids get to hang out with an astronaut one day, like, they just learned something about that day. Like, it doesn't matter, a carpenter, whatever it is.
Yeah, now that was one of the beautiful things with the lockdowns. I feel like I got a whole lot closer to my neighbors, and I'm still not like close with my neighbors, but like we're still close enough to where it's like if one needs something, like, and just to give you a little background, I do live in an area where everyone like I technically live in an HOA, but
Ooh.
like basically all it does is pay for the roads. That's literally all it pays
Okay, I
for.
like it.
Yeah,
That's like
and
a fun HOA.
yeah, the neighborhood we're in, everyone's deeded for an acre or more. Like, not there's nothing, nobody has less than an acre in this neighborhood because it's like the
Wow.
way that the neighborhood was set up.
Nice, nice.
Um, so yeah, I mean, like we all have some land, but like we do have like we don't have a lot of neighbors, but we all know who this guy is, what he does.
Right.
Like I have neighbors that will be like, we all pretty much are all armed. Like
Yeah.
I have neighbors that'll be like, hey, I'm out of town. Can you keep an eye on my neighbor? And then like he'll even like one of my neighbors will like, oh, something tripped my alarm. Can you just go look around the property real quick? Yeah,
Right.
sure, no problem.
You
Stuff
guys have
like
like a
that.
group chat, or have you ever seen the 411? Is it 411? 411.
No,
The
I've heard
it's
things
called
about that.
cells, but it's on an app, and so you would just get your friends all in on it, and it's just a real easy way to like find each other if you need to quickly, or notify each other of something important. I mean, like, our lives aren't war zones, so it's not like it comes in handy every day. But
Yeah.
like, if it ever does, you'll be glad that you had it.
Yeah, no, we all have each other's numbers. So I mean, we don't have a group chat, but if ever came to that, we could easily make one.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
but all right, let's move into the next step. I kind of want to you just today actually. I saw you put a lengthy comment on my Dave and Sal episode,
I
which
thought it was live. My bad, man.
yeah, no, you're good, you're good. But so that was kind of politics versus agorism, roughly. Although like a lot of people were expecting like a debate that it was, but that's not what it was, and I never even marketed it as such. The thumbnail kind of implied it, but whatever. I'm playing it up
Yeah,
a little
I
bit.
think Sal felt like it was supposed to be a debate, but then I don't know.
I mean, I like Sal. I like Sal a lot. I'll say that a lot, but I think some of the points he went down. Yeah, let me get your thoughts because
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so
I think you could easily tell kind of where I'm coming from if you watch that episode. That
yeah.
like, while me and Sal both are agorists, I think we take very different lines of argumentation.
Mhm.
I take the practical, or pragmatic route essentially,
All the
whereas
things.
he takes the moral argument route, which I actually
No,
find to be very lacking.
right.
And that's where we disagree.
I was just talking about this with my wife today. Like, morality is just like one strand of the fiber that makes up who we are, right? So we're not always acting morally. There are many, many actions that have no moral implications whatsoever, and we shouldn't see them that way because it really fucks with our heads. And that's one problem with the church. But um, Yeah, you don't moralize things that, like, you don't need to moralize it. There's no way to get everybody who would vote in a race to instead plant a garden. You're never going to do it. There's a reason they're not planting a garden. Otherwise, they'd be planting a garden. And I think Keith Knight pointed out that it's really a matter of division of labor when it comes to the movement. As we think of it as a overall an aggregate, because we're glad that we have family and friends now that think like we do. But there's never a need for conflict between the two paths, because those people weren't going to be doing anything else with their time anyway. So it's great that they're making an effort. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and my biggest point when it comes to that would be, I just think your efforts could be used better elsewhere. Because I mean, let's be real. If you're someone knocking on doors, saying this or that, there probably are things you could be doing that are a little bit better with your time. And that's kind of the point I'm trying to get across to some people is like, I get that that's what you think, and maybe in some aspect you are doing something that is moving the needle forward. But I think you'd be better off doing something like, say for you, I don't know what your job situation is, but you obviously have a larger family. You seem to have a lot of stuff going on. You obviously have some entrepreneurial ventures going on. Stuff like that is, I'm like, that is stuff that you could be working on as opposed to knocking on doors or whatever.
Right.
And it's not to say, I know a lot of people always bring up the division of labor argument. Yeah, sure. Okay. Kind of. But that doesn't mean that every bit of labor is productive.
That's true. That's true, man. People vote all the time for no reason at all. You might as well just stay at home.
Yeah, and it's like, to me, like when people try to always, and obviously this is being a little silly, but like if somebody goes, oh, just division of labor, and it's like, okay, well that guy's shitting in the yard. Is that productive? And you're like, division of labor.
He wasn't part of the pie. He's outside the pie. He's the one that poops on the chess table and flips it off.
And it's like, okay, cool. I mean, I guess you're like getting rid of your waste from your body, but like, hey, buddy, you probably could do this and be a little bit better. Like, and it's not, and obviously I'm not saying that like nothing good at all comes out of. So for example, like Dave Smith, who I've become something between a friend and an acquaintance with him. And I love the guy. I do think that he will probably on his end move the needle forward a lot, when it comes to like, so far as, convincing people. But then the problem becomes, I think there also becomes a lot of people who get sucked into like the door knocking and shit like that I brought up before. Where it's like, where it's like you could be making something of your life. And then I also do think that people who become door knockers usually aren't people who have, I mean, this is speaking in generalities, but these people, Junkie Jeff brings me up, but does human shit count as manure as fertilizer? See, there you go. It's you're creating fertilizer. So there is still a positive to even shitting the yard. It's just like you can still be doing something better.
Like that's nasty shit. You don't want that in your yard.
Yeah. And so I'm speaking generalities, but I think generally speaking, the kind of people who end up there tend to not usually be the people that completely have their life together. And I think we'd be better off, and this is a little bit of a Jason Stapleton thing, which I think is an almost in some ways, the Jason Stapleton thing is just a rebranded agorism, and I've said this before. I do think there is something to improving your station in life does far more than, and this is, I guess, kind of plays into like, my thoughts when it comes to egoism and stuff. Everything starts from yourself. So instead of, and it's not to say there's no benefit in, trying to get people to become libertarians or talking to people about these things. But I think there's a far more of a value to be put on improving yourself and living the life. And that will then actually, I think, end up creating more people and also put yourself in a better position to be able to do that.
When you do live the life, all those actions that you take that are unique to your lifestyle are examples. So you're right about that. Like you're showing people how to do it as opposed to just talking in theory on podcasts like we like to do or whatever else. You're actually demonstrating, and the whole like the mirror neurons and the way we like human nature, we follow, but like good ideas don't have to like, they really don't require force. Like Uber, when it came around, you didn't have to like buy everybody's loyalty. They were like, oh yeah, fuck taxi companies, they just threw it out the door because it was a pain in the neck. So a lot of pain points we haven't even recognized yet, but one day it's going to be solved, and we're just going to toss the next bit of state, out. And it's people that show us the way that can be parroted and success can be repeated.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you have any other thoughts on that episode before we go and kill it? Because I think we kind of touched on it, but yeah, this has been a fun conversation so far. JC says Paris Hilton said it first, stop being poor. That's actually, there's something to that. I do think there is definitely something to stop being poor. And that's not to say it's bad to be poor. I just think it's better to, it's kind of a, what's the line in the Bible, focusing on the speck in someone's other's eye while there's a plank in yours or whatever.
Right.
It's a,
the plank being the one that made a hole in your pocket, so all the money went out. And,
yeah.
But don't be
go ahead.
poor. Good note to end on that.
Do you have any other thoughts before we go ahead and kill it? Because this has been a good conversation. I've really enjoyed it. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, anytime. Dave, of course he's a good debater. And he didn't, but he wasn't even challenged. It would have been nice to see someone like when he debated. Was it him debated? No, was it Sal? No, it was Jeremy Kaufman that debated McCardle.
No, you're thinking of Matt Erickson.
Oh, is it Matt Erickson? It was him and representing the New Hampshire thing, and then
wait. No, you're right. That was Kaufman. Because I guess Kaufman did have a debate with.
And they had a very similar debate.
But
they actually kind of went after each other a little more. Like the one on your show was hobbled by Sal trying to turn it into something that it couldn't be. You can't turn agorism against like directly. You can't use it like a weapon. If you moralize it, it becomes impotent. People stop listening to you, just as like they stop listening to Christian, moralizing Christians and moralizing anybody, right? Moralizing left. They're always moralizing. Nobody listens to them. So you can't moralize and persuade. So like that's a good reason not to take things as moral, things, because now you're looking at it morally and you can't help but moralize. Anyway, sorry.
No, I to touch on that a little bit, I do remember actually me and Sal are currently working on New Libertarian Manifesto live ring series, and we're dang near the end. And I do remember looking through it because like this was my going through it again. I kind of was like refreshing myself with some of Conkin's arguments, and this isn't to say I'm like see Conkin as a prophet or like I buy everything he says, but I don't recall anywhere in there whatsoever that it ever completely relied on a moralistic argument at all. He always would kind of allude to that there are multiple ways to make this argument. And I don't recall him ever saying explicitly a moral argument.
He might have just said that was the best. Like maybe he was in favor of agorism, but he acknowledged that there were other paths that were a little more craggly and overgrown.
Yeah. And when it comes to like the moral thing, I don't really find there to be a strong moral argument there, but I also don't find that to be, I find a lot of times, and I'm not accusing Sal of this at all. I like Sal. And I think in some, this happens in other, ideologies as well, or people advocating for certain practices or whatever. A lot of people will insist on the moral argument when it is not really necessary or applicable.
Make a point.
And it's almost like they feel like if we don't have the moral argument, we don't have the argument. It's like, well, there's other arguments. You don't have to have a moral argument.
Right.
And like that's kind of my point.
Argument. You like to talk about the egoist argument. That's a perfect example of not the moral argument.
Yeah. Real quick, JC, thanks again for another super chat, $2. I appreciate it. Michael Cock, Mike Cock. Who's this guy? Where is Toad? I know I tweet this out when I stream these. I stream these from the Tower Power Hour Twitter account, just because it's larger and to kind of give us more of a network effect kind of deal. This is not a Tower Power episode, just to let you know if you thought that.
He knows that he's messing with me.
Yeah, I know he's probably messing with me. I appreciate the fucking the super chat though.
Yeah, he's a big fan of yours.
Oh, I forgot to say, and I guess I could have said this for the chats. I think I mentioned in the last episode, Tower Power Hour has been nuked from YouTube for anyone who's not aware. So if you are watching this, go to Odyssey and follow them there. We are rebuilding on Odyssey. I mean, we already had an Odyssey account to begin with, but we got nuked. Apparently, they don't. YouTube is not a fan of comedic tournaments about genocide.
Can't imagine why. That's weird.
I don't get it.
Of all of them, that one triggering it. It's kind of weird.
It was kind of funny. We had Adam Kokesh on, and that was the last episode on YouTube.
Yeah. I remember that episode.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that. I laughed. I didn't make that episode, but I watched it, and I laughed. I was like, dude, we have had way worse episodes. There's no way this is our last episode.
Yeah. Like, y'all didn't even really go after Kokesh. Like, I went for blood. I was there to just watch the meat grinder, but
no.
TopLobsta was the only one who came through for me, I feel like,
No, I did that on purpose. I actually was the one who told them to do that. I did that on purpose because I was like, everyone's going to expect, going for blood, and I think Kokesh will as well. So it'll actually be better if you start out joking around. And if you do end up getting into it later, cool. But like, at least wait a little while, do a little bit of the tournament, make it comedic before it goes there.
Like, did you see how he got off? He was off. Like, he
it
was
disarmed
high
him.
and he wasn't at peace. It was really weird.
Yeah, it's a good way to disarm your enemies. Like, completely, completely throw them off.
That's so funny.
Yeah. Well, all right. I think we're at an end here. We've hit all the topics, and it's been a good conversation. I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your support, of course.
Of course. I mean, I really like that you would have. I know this is going to sound a little bit like pandering because we're alive, but it's totally cool that you have that as an incentive. I know that you probably get a few weirdos along the way, but it's really like I supported you half because I like your content, but also half because you give us an opportunity to do something that no one else is giving us opportunity to do. So I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah, no problem. And for anyone who's watching it, I mean, all you gotta do is give me $10 one time, and and you can do it.
Worth it.
So yeah, hit me up. I've only had one other guy's taken up on it. So I mean, if you guys want to do it, go for it. I mean, but yeah, and all you got to do is have some good topics to hit on, and we'll do it. I mean, obviously, if you give me something I have no idea what to talk about whatsoever, if you're like, let's talk about string theory, what'd you say?
SpaceX, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't talk on that, or even can be as simple as, hey, you should get this guy on and talk about this, and I may consider it. So I mean, it's not like a done deal. So don't get offended if you give me $10 and I say I can't do that, because we got to have some sort of level of reasonability.
Move to the next one.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. With that, if you want to go ahead and drop whatever plugs you got.
I already dropped the plugs at the beginning. I don't want to bore these guys. I appreciate it, man. It's been a privilege that I paid for, and I'm happy to have paid for to come on with you, man. It's nice talking.
No, I appreciate it. We'll definitely have to do something again. And if we have any other topics come up you feel like you can speak on, or if there's any other episodes I have that you feel like you have a lot to say, let me know. I'm definitely glad to do it again.
Cool.
I mean, I wouldn't say that for every patron, because you never know, you might get some crazy that you're like, okay, I regret giving this opportunity, but I don't regret this at all. So if you ever
how he got in, right? That was how he got in.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuck around.
But yeah, if I ever have an episode, or you have some topic that comes up, you feel like you have a lot to speak on or something, definitely hit me up, and we can do it again. Thank you, Pull for the $2 super sticker. It just says super sticker, so I don't know if that actually means like our super sticker. I don't know how that works. By the way, Junkie Jeff, I can't believe Cops didn't move forward for the last few episodes in Tower Power. You know what? It's like a lot of people had a lot of suggestions for Tower Power, like, well, this group or that group, and obviously, like, Cops being like a libertarian theory, you would think they would get really far in the thing, but it's like it's also a comedy show. It's like how much. Like at some point,
the movie talkers were what moved forward instead of the cops, right? Dude, they loved the movie talkers. You guys couldn't stop talking about the talkers.
Yeah, no, there's way more comedic content there. It's also like Cops is like, yeah, sure, in a theory sense, like, yeah, the Cops would be the first one to go, but like
maybe they would have won against white women, but not movie talkers.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are like, oh, you should put pedos in there or something like that. It's like, okay, but we also can't put. Yeah, we can't put things in there that are just gonna run away with it.
Right, just like ringers. Like, this is rigged.
Yeah, like, this is no fun. Like, there's nothing. Like, how can you really? But yeah, with that, I have this is the No Way Jose show. I'm on YouTube, all the major audio packages, Odyssey as well. Follow me on Twitter at 2020 No Way Jose. If you want to give me money, patreon.com, just No Way Jose 2020. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I really appreciate this conversation. This was fun, Jeremy. I definitely mean it. We can do it again if anything ever comes up.
Yeah, I'll hit you up. I'll hit you up.
Yeah, or if there's any, I like doing the live reading things. Those are always fun. So if you find something that's kind of brief,
I meant to ask you about. So I noticed you do a lot of books, which is what drew me to you in the first place. I love those episodes. Yeah. But you haven't done. You sit down with Sal all the time, but y'all haven't done his book. Why is that?
I haven't got to it yet. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm go ahead. Sorry.
That's what I was like. I was gonna start laying down some episodes for that book, because I mean each one it's easy to do a reading of because it's just so short. Yeah. Each chapter. But yeah, I was just checking. You haven't gotten to it yet. I respect that.
No, I don't. If I did Sal's anti-politics book, I don't think I would do a live reading of it, because it's a kind of a thicker book that would be a huge series to do live reading. But I would I've been kicking around the idea. I'd have to read it first and see how I feel about it. But
anti-politics?
The anti-politics, yeah, that's what you're talking
Yeah.
about, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
Uh,
each chapter is like 2 pages, 2 or 3 pages long.
Yeah,
Is
okay.
that what
I
you're
I
talking
mean,
about when you
maybe
say too
some
long?
of them would be, but I was thinking, for one, I also haven't read through it yet, but
Right.
I
Right.
was
Me
thinking
neither.
I was thinking I'd probably handle it a lot like I'm handling my Anarchist Handbook series, which I don't know if you've seen any of those yet.
Yeah, I have.
Uh, yeah,
I enjoy
so
all those. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, those I more just like read it and then bring someone on to analyze it, like as
Right.
opposed to reading it on the series. I think I did do one or maybe even 2 episodes of the Anarchist Handbooks that were a live reading of the thing, but that was because it was like a page or two, and it was like there's not much
Right.
analyzing to be
Might
done.
as well just throw it out like it was said, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Otherwise, it is a little bit burdensome to like
yeah,
do a reading when you can have more fun and actually just talk through it. It makes
yeah.
sense.
But yeah, I mean, if you have something shorter that you ever want to do that, or I mean, if that's something that interests you, have you already read through it yet?
I've read through a part of the book. I've just got started.
Okay. Yeah, no, I haven't yet because I am very. I know I'm still. I haven't been churning out the Anarchist Handbook episodes, but I'm still reading it. What I've been doing, and I know this sounds silly, my process is like I've just been continually reading every chapter through and through and through, and like trying to get inspiration for who to be a guest, who,
Right.
and also
Get a feel
thoughts on
for it.
it. For example, right now I read the Herbert Spencer one. I think I'm going to try to email Napolitano, see if I can get that set up. That's a Hail Mary. We'll see if that happens
We'll see.
because
Hopefully.
the Herbert Spencer chapter is really cool because anyone's aware of that. It was the essay in that was an excerpt from I think like a book of his or some shit that
Hmm.
he ended up pulling later, and it was his a little mini section on the right to ignore the state. And it's this weird thing where like minarchism and anarchism kind of meet because it was the logical conclusion of like minarchism essentially, whereas
Yeah.
like where it kind of like meets anarchism, and like to where it's like, and he's following these same values of liberty where you get there, and it ended up
Okay.
getting removed later because I guess it was kind of like very anarchistic, and Herbert Spencer was not an anarchist, so
Oh,
that's why I think for somebody
it's like
like
a
a
mistake. He made like he didn't mean to share that little
yeah.
bit.
Well, I don't know what the motivation for was for removing it, but it was like it was definitely is definitely interesting that and I think Napolitano may or may not be an ANCAP, but even if he isn't, he's very much like a Ron Paul type to where he's so
So
liberty
close.
minded that we're
Right.
like even if he is a minarchist, he
Yeah. Like
probably would
he's
be
going to be
like
in anarchist heaven for sure. I mean,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
even if like Ron Paul, even if he isn't an anarchist, he's such a minarchist to a degree to where it's just semantic and you're basically an anarchist.
Exactly. I mean, he came from the GOP and he created an anarchist revolution.
Yeah.
Like where we're at now, like so many of us were activated by him, and he was just a Republican. It made no sense at all that we would end up anarchists. So I think so. I think he's a lot
Yeah.
closer to anarchist than.
Yeah, and in a lot of like extreme minarchists you'll talk to them, and like you'll actually pick apart at their ideas, and you'll realize that it's really just semantics, and they're basically an anarchist and not willing to say
Oh, waste of
it.
time, that one. I
Yeah,
would be frustrated if I found out you were
yeah.
actually an anarchist.
Well, it's not even that they're necessarily lying to themselves. Like I've heard people be like, "Well, I just think everything should be voluntary, but I do think there should be a government." And you're like, "Okay, well, that's anarchy."
Organic government or civil
Yeah,
government, whatever you want to call it, I guess.
like sure,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
yeah.
I'll
I
do
think
that sometimes. I'll say,
yeah.
there will be governance of various things, various systems, just like there are today. Your Windows needs governance. There's going to be governance for everything, but it's just not going to be in your face telling you what to do.
Yeah. Mike Cock again. Good job, guys. Appreciate it. Another $2. I'm glad you guys, all you guys came around. I do appreciate you guys. I keep debating whether I want to ever like do these because I do these public live streams and I take it down. I keep debating whether I want to do it or not, but I kind of like the engagement. So as long as you guys
Yeah.
keep coming, I will. If you guys start dying off, I'll probably just completely put it behind a paywall but I do appreciate you guys showing up. I appreciate you, Jeremy. And with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and kill it.
All right.
Even though we could probably keep going. We'll find something else to go on.
Sure.
This is a fun conversation for sure. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
Yeah, appreciate everyone who came up for the stream. And yeah, all right, and we are done.
Take it easy.